Hello, good morning. Welcome to all of you. It's nice to see so many young, fresh, excited faces in the room. Yesterday we celebrated our 50th anniversary, our 50 years of our work, our partnership in Nepal. We recognize an important milestone. And in that meeting, one of the key points that many of our partners and our Prime Minister raised was the importance of creating jobs, good quality jobs in Nepal. Because we know 1,500 people are migrating every day because of lack of opportunities in Nepal for decent jobs. So our work in the next 50 years, hopefully not in the next 50 years, but the next 5 years, will be focusing on supporting the government to develop creative solutions to promote job growth. Now, one of the main points that we all need to focus on here today is that youth, among any segment of the population, are the hardest hit by lack of jobs. And we see 500,000 young people entering the job market every year with very few jobs available for them. So we call you here today to get your feedback on how we deal with this issue. The country has a national employment policy which calls on a range of ministries, industry, tourism, commerce, to work together with the Ministry of Labor to create good jobs for you. But we need your input. And as we move forward in the next few months in developing the ILO country plan, our work plan for the next 5 years, we also need your input for that. So this is the start of that process, looking forward. So youth employment is a key challenge for Nepal. But you are not the problem, you are part of the solution. And many of you here today are entrepreneurs. You decided to stay here and start your own business and find a way to make money and create jobs for other people. And I know that many of you have been exposed to some creative and innovative solutions from outside of Nepal. What strikes me most about this country is that so many people have connections to family members all over the world. And you're exposed to different ways of doing business, of using technology in your work, and creating products and services that are available in other countries, but now you're bringing them to Nepal. So today we're looking at two issues. One is youth employment, but the second, how we shape the future of work. And our Director General has launched a very important initiative in the ILO that all of us, our constituents, governments, employers, and workers, are looking to the future to decide how we shape that future, what kind of businesses we see, how they're structured, how production is structured, and what our relationship as worker to our company, or as company owner to our worker, how that changes over time. We see some remarkable changes that have been shaped by technology over the last few years. I mean, we know the businesses, Uber, what is B&B? I feel like old-fashioned now, but Airbnb. A number of other businesses where products and services are sold in a different way. Some would argue that this new, what we call platform or gig economy, is taking away rights of workers to access decent work, particularly Social Security. Because when I sell a service on an individual basis, only when that need arises, what happens to me when there is no need? So we're looking at ways of shaping how we ensure that workers have access to what we call decent work in the future as the economy changes. And the bottom line is, technology shapes the future of work, the way we structure work. But we as workers and as business owners have the power to decide how work is structured in the future and how we structure our businesses. And I think you, more than anyone, knows how to go about in designing that future, keeping into account the need for business growth, but also for the needs of workers to have what we call decent work. Fair wages, safe working conditions, the right to negotiate your working conditions, and Social Security. So that's the basic frame for our discussion today. We have our Director General, who has pioneered this initiative on the future of work. So we would like for you, we will have you speaking to us, and then our Director General will respond to you. So I would like to say finally that even though Nepal faces many challenges in creating jobs, we can use technology to leap forward to the future. And I just remind you of a little story when 20 years ago, when I lived in Indonesia, we conducted a market assessment. I was a business consultant. We conducted an assessment on rolling out landlines, telephone landlines in Indonesia. And someone said, why are we doing this? Because now we have mobile phones coming in, and they're actually going to be cheaper one day, and then people won't need these landlines. But we said, no, we're going to go ahead and roll out these landlines, and do the market study, and put the path forward. But of course, what happened at the end of the day was the country never finished rolling out those landlines. And now we all use mobile phones, and they're cheap and they're affordable. So we can use technology, even in a country like Nepal, where many options where we don't really see that we can leapfrog into using technology in creative ways to grow tourism, to grow agriculture, and to grow other segments of manufacturing. We can use technology as young people, as innovators, to move this economy forward. But let's also not lose the fact that when we use these innovative solutions, let's not forget people, and making sure that people have their basic needs, wages, social security, safe working conditions, their fundamental dignities as workers. So let's not lose the humanity in our businesses in the future. And that's what the future work is all about, designing a future of work where we have growth, but those fundamental rights of individuals are also met. So thank you all for coming, and I look forward to hearing from you and learning from you. But this does not end today. We will keep working together as we move forward on this job creation agenda. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Today we are having a dialogue on Nepali youth's vision for future of work. What are the opportunities and challenges for Nepali youth? In this program, we are very honored to have Director General of ILO, Mr. Ryder, here with us. He will join us later on Q&A based on the presentation of the speakers. In the program, we will talk about gender equity, platform economy, entrepreneurship versus migration discourse, and about the gig economy. We have two different question and answer sessions with the speakers. Also, audience will have the opportunity to discuss with the Director General. This session will be moderated by ILO Youth Employment Specialist, Matthew Konyak. Following two question and answers session, we will move on the declaration, which will represent on the views that we have in this room today. And after that, we'll have the group photo along with Director General. After the group photo, we'll have the dialogue along with the media personals, and at the same time, we'll have a lunch time. At that time, young people will have the opportunity to talk about with the speakers today who will speak over here. Before proceeding to the program, I'd like to request all of you to switch off your mobile phone so that we can have a sound environment to run this program. Also, in your table, there are microphones, and that is mainly used for the translation. Please leave the microphone before you leave the hall after the program. We are here to talk about future of work in Nepal, what that means to people of Nepal. Our job changing these days. How is it going to affect you and us overall? For this, we are very pleased to have excellent series of young speakers today with us. So let's start the first presentation from an entrepreneur who founded a company, being herself a female and for the female. Her name is Alfaza Raj Bhandari Joshi, and our sister Anuja Raj Bhandari is also present in the hall today. They both founded the company called Ekadeshma. In the context of Nepal, it's not easy for young women to find a job, and it's even more difficult to start their own venture. Alfaza has a lot to tell us about more about gender aspect in the current job market. Please welcome Alfaza Rajbandari Joshi.
Thank you. So I'd like to share one of my story, a personal story. When I was a teenager, maybe around like 12 to 16, I was totally a hardcore tomboy. I had very short hair, and I used to dress totally like a boy. And I used to pretend to wear certain big baggy loose clothes so people could not figure out whether I am a girl or not. And when people could misunderstood me and call me a boy, then I could get that initial or the false confidence that I used to have. And I enjoy it thoroughly. But now the scenario is different. I'm a mother and an entrepreneur. So I'm going to talk about the gender. So what is gender? Gender is a state of being male or female, typically used with reference to social and cultural differences rather than the biological aspect. Yes, rather than the biological aspect. There are certain expectations from our society for men and women to perform, to behave, or to act, or pose, or to perform in the society, the way they live, in the tradition they are in, and certain social norms. Gender is a social attitude. Yes, it is a social attitude. It is a culture which is made by us. We made the culture. Culture did not make us. So, and unfortunately, this creates disadvantages for the most of the women in the developing countries like Nepal, where more than half of populations are women. There are so many cultural beliefs which restrict women from getting their form of opportunity for the first time, because in comparison with the men, females have less attention in the society itself. We all can figure it out. I don't think we need to explain it like loud, right? So because in comparison with men, the condition of the rural woman in Nepal is pathetic. In rural areas, child marriages are still prevalent. The percentage of literacy among women in rural areas is almost negligible. So being a man is a luxury. Yes, it is a luxury. Gender equity or gender equality is not just the issue of women. It's the issue of development. Closing gap between benefits country as a whole, not just the women or the girls. So as for example, when a member of a family is sick or ill, the whole family is affected in economically, mentally, or physically in a way. So when a woman of a country is not developed, when they are underprivileged, and how can a woman, as a country as a whole context develop? The country suffers itself as well. So on that aspect, to bridge the gap between the men and the women is what we feel is the necessity. One of the most biggest necessity is woman empowerment. When we give the empowerment to the woman, we make them financially independent, self-sufficient, make them less dependent on the other family, also for the financial support, which automatically increases their confidence, which help to take charge of them, their children, and the family, which gives a certain positions for themselves to stand out in their own society. A woman empowerment access to give them the opportunity. It helps to have the services that our community provides them. So for economic development, it is essential to entail the removal of wage discrimination, the creation of new employment opportunities, job as direct contribution to the economy. So, and this is what Ekadesima has been doing since past 2 years as a whole. In 2011, Ekadesima was formed with me and my sister, Anuja Rajbandari. She is just sitting on the corner in the yellow saree. She's looking beautiful today. So, How we started? We started with the one little corner small store in Tamil. We started with a certain number of t-shirts, and we were so energetic and so enthusiastic that we didn't have the business plans on our head. We were just right away open our store. And one thing that we waited for a month to get the feedback, because we were unique to the crowd. We wear the quality materials to the crowd. We offer good quality materials which are totally made in Nepal. And the feedback was immensely beautiful. We got so much good response that people could come and congratulate of being us different in this crowd of those hippie stuffs and the low quality stuff, wear and tear material. So we got the boost. We thought of maybe we should do little more things, maybe we should increase our business, or something like that. So the theme of women empowerment come into mind because we both know how hard it is to stand in the crowd and how hard we got to have that working capacity being a middle class born family. So you can see some of the pictures over there. So Ekadesma have been focusing on the women empowerment, creating decent job for women for our community. By making them participate in the skill development program, we provide them free training. This is the first step that towards the recognition of empowerment of women project we had done in 2002 to 15. We did a 2-day program, a free of cost program, where we call community members to participate in the program, and there were 20 to 25 altogether for 2 days. It was 50 and above women participating in the training. We gave them the paper bag training and the candle making training. Also, these ladies, you can see the women's wash stitching are the manufacturer of the brand Ekadesma. Or you can see the jacket that I'm wearing, it's made by us, made by this wonderful women of our factory. So, we generated our resources from our community. We created decent job opportunity with our community, seeking and researching and matching the skill that we need for our business from the women of our community. Because when we have less, we have more opportunity to create. So sorry, I think I just misplaced. Just give me a minute. I need to figure out the papers that I'm reading. Okay. It's kind of tough balancing those commercially to support these women throughout the long run, but still it is a challenge. When we, a small company can do, why can't other, right? So if there could be any lobbying system or any plan, proper implementation of laws from our government sector, different initiative organizations, women activists focusing on our first highest population rate, that is our women of our country. Our women need proper decent job, a woman-friendly working environment, skill development program based on the current need of the technical market and professional training, etc. So if we do so, just imagine the number of women who are going to get employment opportunity. In this case, if we focus on this sector of our population, we might decrease the migrated women going abroad and suddenly having those kind of difficulties. So let's change the culture and traditional culture which we have created. Let's make gender to see equal in sense of performance, responsibility without any discriminations. Let's try to be balanced, create balance. Let's not move forward, backward. Let's be equal in every sense. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Balthazar, for a wonderful speech. Also highlighting the gender inequality that is prevalent in our job market and how to address them. So now we will have the presentation on the platform economy. You have heard about the Uber and eBay and similarly similar kind of platform in Nepal called Sastodil. Now many people are begin to make the living out of these platforms. And how is it affecting our lives? To speak more about the platform economy, we have Mr. Anis Shrestha from Krishigarh, who has developed a successful venture in ICT, linking many people living in rural areas. He has been providing access to information to the farmers, integrating the agriculture with information technology. We're interested to hear more from him. Please welcome Mr. Anish Shrestha from
किसानको छोरा हुँ र मेरो पढाइ पनि कृषिले नै धानिएको हो। अनि मलाई म कक्षा 4 हुँदाखेरि एउटा मलाई आफ्नो लाइफको इन्सिडेन्ट याद छ। जब हामीले चाहिँ आलु लगाउँदाखेरि डोडुवा रोग लागेर हाम्रो आलु नोक्सानी भएको थियो र आर्थिक नोक्सानी हामीले धेरै भोग्नु परेको थियो। र त्यतिखेरदेखि नै मलाई थाहा थियो कि सूचनाको महत्त्व कति हुन्छ भनेर। त्यतिखेर सूचना लिने माध्यम भनेको रेडियो मात्र थियो। र हामीलाई थाहा छ कृषिमा चाहिँ धेरै कुराको सूचना चाहिन्छ। डिजिस इन्फर्मेसन, क्लाइमेट इन्फर्मेसन, टेक्नोलोजी इन्फर्मेसन, यो सबै इन्फर्मेसन भयो भने हामीले प्रोडक्टिभिटी बढाउन सक्छौँ कृषिमा। र लास्ट इयरको गभर्मेन्टको डाटा हेर्दाखेरि पनि गभर्मेन्टले 12.6 बिलियन रुपियाँ चाहिँ अनुदान मात्रै दिएको छ। र यो हाम्रो पनि कर्तव्य हो यो कहाँ कसरी गइरहेछ भनेर बुझ्नलाई। र टाइम अनुसार टाइम पनि चेन्ज हुन्छ र टाइम चेन्ज भएर अहिले इन्टरनेट पेनिट्रेसन रेट पनि बढिसकेको छ। 44% चाहिँ नेपालमा अहिले इन्टरनेट युजर भइसकेको छन्। र हाम्रो चाहिँ एग्रिकल्चर 65.5 पपुलेसन डिपेन्डेन्ट हुनुहुन्छ। र हामीले चाहिँ यो अब डिजिटल सिस्टम बनाउन आवश्यक छ र हामीले यसमा काम गरिरहेछौँ। र अर्को कुरा कन्ज्युमर बिहेभियर पनि चेन्ज भइरहेछ। नेपालमा ट्राफिक बढ्दो छ र यसले गर्दाखेरि डिजिटल प्लेटफर्मतिर हामी नेपालीहरू गइरहेको छौँ। जस्तो अनलाइन पेमेन्ट सिस्टम युज गरिरहेछौँ, बिलहरू पे गर्न अनलाइन सिस्टमहरू युज गरिरहेछौँ। र अर्को तथ्याङ्क हेर्दाखेरि लास्ट इयरको जुन मस्टको जुन हाम्रो एट्याकहरू भयो उसमा चाहिँ जनयुद्धमा धेरै नेपालीहरू चाहिँ विदेशी बाध्य हुनुभयो र फ्लो रेसियो बढ्दै गयो। र अब 5 या 10 वर्षपछि एउटा यस्तो फ्लो रेसियो आउँछ कि इन्फ्लो रेसियो हुन्छ कन्ट्रीमा। र त्यसको लागि पनि हामीले चाहिँ डिजिटल सिस्टम बनाउनु अति आवश्यक छ। र हाम्रो कल्पना भनेको गाउँ गाउँमा कृषि सूचना, उहाँहरू आइसकेपछि एटलिस्ट आफ्नो घरमा आफूले उत्पादन गरेर खान सक्ने क्यापेबल हुनुहोस्। र हाम्रो एउटा डिजिटल प्लेटफर्मको इमेजिनेसन यो हो। र हामीले चाहिँ यसमा सिर्फ अन्ली जो इन्फर्मेसन प्रोभाइडर हुनुहुन्छ उहाँहरूलाई कनेक्ट गरेर एउटा मोबाइलको थ्रु चाहिँ उहाँहरूको हातमा पुर्याउने कोसिस गरिरहेछ। र हामीले यसलाई सुरुमा हामीले यसको नाम सुरुमा प्रोजेक्टको नामै हात सूचना भनेर गरेको थियौँ। सबै इन्फर्मेसन अफिसर, कन्ट्याक्ट फोन नम्बर, सबै वेबसाइटहरू, इमेलहरू एकै ठाउँमा हो र सूचना प्रदायकले पनि सूचना पठाउन सक्नु। र यो हाम्रो एप्सको डिजाइन हो र यसमा चाहिँ 2 वे कम्युनिकेसन हुन्छ। यसमा 2 वे कम्युनिकेसन र मौसमको तरकारीको इन्फर्मेसनहरू हामी लिन सक्छौँ र यसको लागि हामीले गभर्मेन्टको पनि सपोर्ट लिइरहेको छौँ। र यो गर्दाखेरि हामीलाई चाहिँ लाइफमा धेरै च्यालेन्जेस आयो। र फर्स्ट च्यालेन्जेस भनेको हामी चाहिँ जब एग्रिकल्चरमा काम गर्न लाग्यौँ, एग्रिकल्चरमा आइटी वाट भन्ने क्वेसन हुन्थ्यो। र सुरुमा चाहिँ डिजिटल डिभाइड जसमा चाहिँ टेक्नोलोजी लभर युज टु लभ द टेक्नोलोजी अनि टेक्नोलोजी इग्नोरले रजिस्टर सिस्टम अफ चेन्ज। अनि हामीलाई चाहिँ गभर्मेन्ट अफिसरलाई सिकाउँथ्यौँ सर्टेन 1 इयर या 6 मन्थ पछि फेरि चेन्ज भइदिने, फेरि स्टार्टेड फ्रम लेभल 0, फेरि रिपिटेडली फेरि लेभल 0बाट स्टार्ट गर्न पर्ने। अनि हामीले त्यो गर्दा गर्दै पनि गभर्मेन्टसँग कन्भिन्स गर्न सक्यौँ र केही स्काइप युज गरेर भिडियो कल गर्न सक्यौँ र यो भिडियोहरू हामी युट्युबमा चाहिँ अपलोड गर्दै आइरहेको छौँ। र अहिले त कृषि विभाग र कृषि सूचना तथा सञ्चार केन्द्रले नै हामीलाई सहयोग गर्नुभएको छ। र हामी चाहिँ फार्मर लिडर ग्रुपमा र गभर्मेन्ट अफिसहरूमा गएर चाहिँ हाउ आइसिटी बेनिफिट देयर प्रोजेक्ट देयर बिजनेस भनेर चाहिँ हामी लिइरहेको छौँ। र यसले गर्दाखेरि पनि फ्युचर जब मार्केट चाहिँ अब ठुलो आइसिटीको क्रिएट हुँदैछ। र यसमा चाहिँ हामीलाई युएनडिपीको कम्प्रेहेन्सिभ डिजास्टर रिस्क म्यानेजमेन्ट प्रोग्रामबाट पनि सहयोग भएको थियो र हामीले चाहिँ क्लाइमेट इन्फर्मेसन त्यहाँबाट लिइरहेको छौँ। र यो हाम्रो डेटा मात्रै हो, जुन कुरा गभर्मेन्टसँग पहिले थियो त्यो डेटालाई हामीले वेबमा राखेर अपलोड गर्दाखेरि भ्यूमा चाहिँ 1,94,000 भ्यू भइसकेको छ हाम्रो युट्युब च्यानलमा। र हाम्रो चाहिँ यो डेटा अनुसार चाहिँ खाडी मुलुकको गल्फ कन्ट्रीको चाहिँ भ्युवर बढी हुनुहुन्छ। र यस डेटाले के बताउँछ भन्दाखेरि उहाँहरू फर्केर आइसकेपछि कृषिमा केही गर्न खोजिराख्नु भएको छ र हामीलाई क्वेसन पनि सोध्दै हुनुहुन्छ उहाँहरूले। र एउटा मात्रै भ्यूको चाहिँ 40,000 भ्यू पुगिसकेको छ, एउटा मात्रै भिडियो युट्युबमा अपलोड गरिराख्नु। र यो हाम्रो यो च्यानलको एनालाइसिस हेर्दाखेरि युट्युब एनालाइसिस, फेसबुक एनालाइसिसमा 25 to 34 एज ग्रुपको युथहरू बढी आकर्षित हुनुहुन्छ र उहाँहरूले चाहिँ क्वेसन पनि सोधिराख्नु छ र इन्टरेक्सन गरिराख्नु भएको छ। र यो चाहिँ हाम्रो सिस्टमले काम गर्दैन भन्दाखेरि पनि हाम्रो सिस्टमले काम गरिरहेछ र हाम्रो सिस्टम युज गरेर क्वेसन पनि आइरहेको छ र सल्युसन सुस्तरी गइरहेछ, धेरै सुस्तरी। र एज अ नाउ वी आर द ग्लोबल सिटिजन अब हाम्रो मोबाइलमै हामीसँग सबै कुरा छ। हाम्रो मोबाइलबाट हामीले हाम्रो बिजनेस कन्ट्याक्ट गर्न सक्छौँ, इन्फर्मेसन लिन सक्छौँ। र एउटा मोबाइल प्रयोग गरेर हामीले चाहिँ पहिलाको कस्तो हुन्थ्यो भन्दाखेरि ट्रेडिसनल मार्केटिङ डिपार्टमेन्टमा चाहिँ मार्केटलाई जे इन्फर्मेसन छ त्यो कुरा चाहिँ हामीले ल्याएर हामी कल्टिभेसन गर्थ्यौँ भने अब चाहिँ हामीले जे कल्टिभेट गर्छौँ त्यो कुरा चाहिँ मार्केटलाई दिन सक्छौँ। त्यो कुरा दिँदाखेरि अहिले वर्ल्डको डेटा हेर्ने भन्दा आइटीको डेटा हुन्छ 44% चाहिँ वर्ल्ड वाइड इन्टरनेट पेनिट्रेसन भइसकेको छ। र त्यो भनेको हाम्रो चाहिँ वर्ल्ड एज अ ग्लोबल मार्केट भइसकेको छ। र यो फ्युचर आइटीमा त जब मार्केट अब क्रिएट हुँदैछ। हस्, थ्याङ्क यू।
Thank you, Anis, for the presentation. Now we move on to first question and answer round session. I kindly request His Excellency, Director General of ILO, Ryder, and Matthew Konyak, please come up on the stage for question and answer session. The session will be moderated by Youth Employment Specialist, Mr. Matthew. The floor over to you, Matthew.
Thank you very much and welcome to all. I think that we had two fantastic presentations, and I want to say to Alpasa and to Anish that you really struck a chord here. I was looking a little bit at the audience during the presentations, and what you said means so much. Putting women back, you know, in the labor force, but in the labor force not necessarily in agriculture, because here in Nepal women work actually, it's one of the great things, but we see them more in agriculture and perhaps a bit less in white-collar jobs or in urban areas, and what you do is actually to try to reverse that trend. And of course, we've also heard from Anish about the ways in which, you know, the platform economy, and even if maybe Uber is not that popular yet in this country, there are other platforms, and the technology that you are helping to reach out to agricultures and to rural areas so that they can sell the products really is very telling. And so I'm very happy to say that in this discussion we will be having a dialogue with you all, and it will be a great opportunity to discuss with the speakers and with the Director General of the ILO, Ryder. Before we start with the formal question and answer, I'd like to ask the Director General, Mr. Ryder, if perhaps he struck a chord as well for you, and if what type of inspiration these speeches bring you.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought those were two fantastic presentations, and I want to congratulate both of you on them. And we've drawn attention, I think, to some of the key questions that we're trying to answer. My organisation, the International Labour Organisation, is approaching its 100th birthday, and we're trying to understand better the transformations taking place in the world of work, what the future of work is going to look like. And we make one big mistake when we try and do this. We don't talk to young people. We just don't do it. We imagine that we have the answers ourselves. So I think the first thing that I'm very pleased is to be able to firstly listen and learn from the young people who are making, it's not about tomorrow, it's today, who are making the future of work. And I think it's a mistake to assume, as people as old as me sometimes do. I wasn't turned on. I think it's a mistake to believe that people entering the world of work today think the same way, want the same things, act the same way as people my age when I started 40 years ago. I think this is really something very important to understand. Now, you brought out, I think, two really important elements. I was going to say three important elements, which I think we need to think about very carefully. First is attitudes towards entrepreneurship. When I started off in the world of work, you know, you didn't think about becoming an entrepreneur. You looked for a job. You looked for somebody who was going to employ you. And I think in this country, maybe people look to the government, to the public service, for a safe job. That was it. And once you got that job, you sort of hung on to it, and there you go. Your life was more or less predictable for the next 35 years. I don't think that happens so much now. I think that you're going to tell me that young people are today entering the job market with different expectations and different ambitions. So what do you want? Do you want that regular 9-to-5 job, or do you think you have to look for something different? And is entrepreneurship the answer? Now, the two people we heard were exceptional people, and I'm sure there are many other exceptional people in the world. The one danger I see in this discussion is we try to generalize from exceptional people. Not everybody is going to be the risk taker, not everybody is going to be the person who does the technology that you've done. So be careful about thinking everybody's like us. That's the first thing. Second thing, gender. I like this formulation that gender is a social attitude. I think it's so true. Really, really true. Now, people tell me that attitudes to gender are changing. That the stereotypes, the expectations of the past generations are evolving. So I often go to countries where it is very clear that there are social expectations, that women should work in this job, but not in that job. And men should work in that job, but not this job. And in some cases, that women should simply not work at all, or that women should work until they get married, and then leave the labour force. Now, are you different? Are the people growing up different now? Are those attitudes changing in Nepal? Normally, 20-year-olds tell me, yeah, we're different from you. But the problem with a 20-year-old today, in 20 years' time they get to be 40, and then 20 years later they're 60 like me. And in fact, their attitudes are exactly the same as my attitudes. They're just 20 years behind me. So I'm not convinced that this is changing so quickly as we sometimes think. The third element about the future is technology. Now, if I ask the question, what do you think about the future of work? Everybody talks about technology. We're told it's the fourth industrial revolution, that everything is going to change. That in the future, the platform economy is going to be the way we work. Now, what do I understand by the platform economy? We have to be careful we're talking about the same thing. Let's take Uber. It's a classic example, or Airbnb. Now, Uber is an amazing enterprise. It's probably the biggest transport provider in the world. It doesn't own one vehicle. Airbnb is the biggest accommodation enterprise in the world. It doesn't own one property. Facebook is the biggest publishing company in the world. It doesn't write one word. This is a totally new type of enterprise. And the other question with them is, are they an employer? There's a big debate about whether an Uber driver actually is an employee of Uber. Now you might think that's sort of abstruse, a strange legal argument, but it's really important. Because if Uber driver is an employee, then he's got a right to a minimum wage, he's got a right to social protection, he's got a right to a whole load of things. But if he's an independent contractor, he's got to look after, or she, has got to look after themselves. And this is a big question, and I hope it's not too obscure. There are many people who think we're going from an economy where employer and employees met together in an enterprise and worked, and that we're moving from that to a world of work where independent people will just come together temporarily to provide a service, pay for the service, and go away. It will be a very temporary and above all a commercial relationship. You won't have a labour contract, you'll have a commercial agreement for the provision of a good or a service. So these are some of the questions we're looking at, and I think the two presentations we've heard have brought them out really, really well. And please don't think we know the answers to all of these big questions. We need to develop the answers, and you, better than anybody else, can help us to find them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ryder. And so let's try to develop those answers. And in the next few minutes, we'll take a few questions from the audience and even from beyond. We'll see that in a minute. So perhaps we can obtain some reaction or any question coming from the audience here to perhaps one of the presenters. Yes, please. Yeah, Lily, yes.
Thank you for the presentation. First, I'm Pratma Bokra, Vice President of Youth Initiative. And the question is for Alpoza Mish. I prefer to say Mish first. The thing is, what are the challenges you or Ekadeshma has felt during the involvement of women in entrepreneurship? Because in Nepal, still we know that the women are more focused on secondary source of income rather than primary source. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. Like I have even mentioned that in my presentation that it was difficult for us to find the hardcore thing, you know. That's why the reason that we have that, that training session is that we just wanted to figure out and filter the interested ladies of our community. And when they came us and they were interested in our approach, and we gave them certain training, we directly hire them with certain minimum wages, and we give them the proper training in our workshop again. And after they are professionally able to meet our quality, and we hire them as our own workers. So this is the process that we did. Even you could see those four women, we did the fundamental proper training, and we hired them, and now they are the full-time workers for us. It is definitely a very difficult thing to see the woman or search for the resources in our community, because we don't have that access to the marketing access of things. So we announce them inside our community. These four women are they belong to kind of same community. So this is what we did. I hope I made your expectations. Thank you.
And thank you, Alpasa. And in this country, 35% of the labor force is in agriculture, and we should not forget those people who are maybe not present in the room today, but who are involved in agriculture, who are also considered part of the informal sector, for a total of 96% in the country. And so because we could not logistically bring rural sector here in this room, we will bring them to you via video. And so if maybe the Director General and I will need to have the translation, we'll have a question that comes to us from, I understand, a lady in a rural area of Nepal.
Good morning, everyone. This is Nitish Raj Pathak from a member of Youth Initiative. And let me start with the short experience first. So there was this information that came to my college that there is a IT-related training program. So I read the entire, the post of a guy, and I commented, okay, I'm interested to attend this training program of 5 days. And it was related to programming. So I'm a student of University Technology. So, and after a while, the person who gave this post, he commented that this is only for girls, not for guys. So, and I just looked at the scenario here, like the girls who are going to attend these programs, they and the differences between they and me is not same at all, because we have equal access to education, opportunities, and everything. So, in a similar program of there was a lady who told that about her experience that when they were working in this rural area of where they were motivating and inspiring parents to send their children to, especially girls, to school, and they were really overwhelmed that their efforts were going to a good ways, because now parents were sending the girls to school. So from a family, they were like a guy, a boy, and a girl. They were going to school. Because of their work, their motivation, a girl, she reached to school and she was actually getting education. But this guy was lost somewhere in the middle, and he was actually playing football rather than going to education. So she told us, what she told was, because of our activity, this activism, I guess we have lost our cause. That actually we are also focused on empowering boys here, not only for girls. So, and in my case, like if you see the future in the long run, then a girl will be more empowered than guys. It's not a bad thing at all that she will be getting more jobs than boys. But if you see in the long future that the same activists most actually might turn back and start empowering boys in the near future. So how do you think you can counterbalance this scenario and being real equality in the world? And see, the more works are being Kathmandu centric, like all the programs they come to Kathmandu, they never go to outside. And even for instance, I will compete with that girl, but how do you expect me or a boy or a girl from a very rural area which is also trying to do something in IT field to compete with me because I have more access to opportunities in Kathmandu. So how can you counterbalance this situation? Thank you.
So again, it's gender being social attitude.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So I guess
So
the direction
this
is
question for me.
to develop.
Yeah. So I'm sorry if you got offended that I did not include gender. I just wanted because our society think men. I don't have to explain that much further because obviously it's a men-run society, right? So what I'm trying to pull is creating the balance, empowering these women so that they can meet today's demand of financial support and act equally like the man of the family. So I'm not going like I'm sorry if I sounded biased, so, right? So the scenario is. Yes, we are trying to empower women, right? So they are involved in certain areas. We even have our husbands at our backbone. We are here because of them. My father, my brother, and every male are involved in our family. They have supported, right? So the workspace you could see that's made by our father. So is it for him? Okay. Okay, the question is for Alice. Okay, it's for like our DC.
Okay. Would you like to answer this or perhaps we
Well, I mean, this is a really good. Am I on? Am I switched on? Look, the fact of the matter is, around the world, women are disadvantaged at work. This is a fact. The gender pay gap, the gap between men and women in terms of pay, is about 20%. That means if you're working Monday to Friday, it's like the men go home Thursday night and leave the women working on Friday. There is a general disadvantage to women at work. Participation of women in the labour market is way beneath that of men, not in Nepal, but in general. I had an interesting experience. I just came from Bangladesh. Bangladesh is growing quickly because it has a very, very big ready-made garment industry. 4 million people working in that. Most of the t-shirts, the cheap goods we get, a lot of them are coming from Bangladesh. 85% of people who work in that industry are women. And that's seen as something really positive. It's seen as an empowerment, to use your phrase. And yet, it's a very low-paid industry, it's a dangerous industry. Women are moving into the labour market in some more difficult, precarious, low-valued jobs, not low-value. And there's an interesting thing happening in Bangladesh. As wages slowly move up, men are getting interested. Men are getting interested now. So the jobs they left to the women, they now want some. They now want some. It's very interesting. So I understand men need empowering. I mean, we want decent work for everybody, women or men. I actually think that we have to give a particular focus to the status of women because we have to have this catch-up. If we're serious about equality, we need to make that, I think, that special effort. But we're not forgetting others. We're not forgetting others. I get the message.
And we have to catch up to women who are also in those rural areas. So I think now we have technology on our side, and let's listen to this question from a woman discussing or talking to us from her village.
अनि मलको लागि कुखुरा र बाख्रा पालन पनि म सोच्दै गर्दैछु। उहाँहरूको कसरी सोच गर्ने कसरी भन्ने भन्ने कुरा पनि मलाई थाहा भएन र पनि उहाँहरूको जानकारी पाए पनि म त्यो मलको लागि धेरै गर्थेँ होला भन्ने मलाई त्यही इच्छा लागिरहेको छ भन्ने सोच गर्दैछु।
So this woman is involved in agriculture and she's looking for information. Anish, this seems to be a question for you. You're supporting people in your community, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I told you that people are migrating from foreign countries to come back in our country, and they are searching for agricultural information. But at present, the government hasn't developed a well digital system. So we are trying to say that government you should build the government system, and we are trying to accelerate the service provided by government system because they already have the certain information. If you only provide that information to the farmer, then that will be also I think that is sufficient to carry your business because she only needs that she need a phone number and contact number so that she can call and ask for help. So we are trying to develop the platform.
Well, wonderful. Thank you very much, Anish, and also Alpasa and Director General for answering the questions, and especially, of course, for your wonderful presentations. This is the end of the first series of Q&A, and we will now leave the floor back to the MC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director General. I'd like to request you to have a seat again. Moving forward with the program, we have a presentation on entrepreneurship versus migration. Young people sometimes have to make a difficult choice. Is it really a choice, entrepreneurship or migration? What kind of choice is it? Let's listen to it from Mr. Surat Giri, who's worked for entrepreneurship promotion and policy research for a long time. He's also co-founder at Onion Films and Nepal Language and Research Solution. By his research, he has been well aware of migration issues and labor returnees. I'd like to welcome Mr. Giri for his presentation. Round of applause.
Thank you, Pradeep, and thanks to ILO for giving me this opportunity to speak in front of you all. I'll be making my presentation mostly in Nepali and with a bit of mix of English, just to inform you. Today I'm going to talk about the story of 3 nights. म चाहिँ करिब 6 वर्ष चाहिँ पोलिसी सेक्टरमा काम गरेँ। नेपालमा एन्टरप्रेन्योरशिप कसरी प्रमोट गर्ने र बिजनेस इन्भाइरोमेन्ट कसरी राम्रो बनाउने भन्ने एउटा थिङ्क ट्याङ्कमा काम गर्थेँ। त्यसपछि आई स्टार्टेड माई ओन एन्टरप्राइज। आई गट टु इन्स्पायर्ड, सो आई स्टार्टेड 2 companies and I'm running those 2 companies. Based on my experience so far, I think हामीले नेपालीहरूलाई चाहिँ 3टा लाइनमा डिभाइड गर्न सकिन्छ। हामी समग्र नेपाललाई बुझ्दाखेरि चाहिँ we can understand on 3 lines. पहिलो लाइन चाहिँ यो US एमबेसी, ब्रिटिस एमबेसीको बाहिर बस्ने लाइन, मोस्टली फ्रम मिडल क्लास होइन, अप्पर क्लास, जो चाहिँ बाहिर डिबीदेखि लिएर अरू विचारहरूको लागि लाइन। दोस्रो लाइन त्यो एयरपोर्टमा आप्रवासी कामदारको लागि छुट्टै लाइन राखिन्छ त्यो, र म्यान पावर एजेन्सीको अगाडि लाइन बस्ने दोस्रो लाइन। अनि तेस्रो लाइन चाहिँ तपाईँ हामी जस्तो होइन, जो चाहिँ पेट्रोलको लागि लाइन बसेको छ, बत्तीको लागि लाइन बसेको छ, रिचार्ज कार्डको लागि लाइन बसेको छ, घरि राति 4 बजी उठेर पानीको लागि लाइन बसेको छ। सो आई थिङ्क ओभरअल हामी नेपालीहरूलाई चाहिँ 3टा लाइनमा डिभाइड गर्न मिल्छ जस्तो लाग्छ। सो अमङ दिस 3 लाइन्स आई बी टकिङ अबाउट द लेटर 2, किनभने पहिलो लाइनको बारेमा हामीले त्यति छलफल गरिरहेको खासै औचित्य नहोला। सो सबभन्दा पहिला तेस्रो लाइन हाम्रो बारेमै कुरा गरौँ। हाम्रो बारेमा चाहिँ के छ भने, सो हामीलाई थाहा भएको कुरा हो, प्रत्येक वर्ष करिब 5 लाख मान्छेहरू चाहिँ लेबर मार्केटमा आउँछन्, तर एकदम थोरैले मात्रै जब पाउँछ। सो के हुन्छ, सो दे हेभ अ डिफिकल्ट चोइस, आइदर गेट अ नट सो डिसेन्ट जब हियर अर गो अब्रोड एन्ड मेक लिटल बिट बेटर मनी, तर गिभिङ अप यर फ्यामिली मेम्बर्स, गिभिङ अप यर अल यर डिसेन्ट लाइफ स्टाइल हियर। सो त्यो चाहिँ किन भइरहेछ भन्ने मलाई लाग्छ भने, हाम्रा चाहिँ युथहरूलाई चाहिँ के भनेर सिकाइयो सानैदेखि भने चाहिँ कि डक्टर बन्न, कि इन्जिनियर बन्न, कि पाइलट बन्न। हामीलाई सानोमा देखि नै त्यो सिकाइरहेकै कुरा के हो भने, के भन्छस् भन्दाखेरि, इफ यु आर अ गुड स्टुडेन्ट यु आर सपोज टु से आइदर डक्टर, इन्जिनियर अर पाइलट। इफ यु आर अ गुड स्टुडेन्ट यु आर नट सपोज टु से एनिथिङ एल्स। सो त्यसले गर्दाखेरि पनि के भएको छ भने हामीलाई डक्टर बन्नु, इन्जिनियर बन्नु, पाइलट बन्नु चाहिँ भन्ने छ, तर त्यसलाई जब दिने चाहिँ बन्नु भन्ने चाहिँ सिकाइएन। सो बन्न त बन्ने, डक्टरलाई पनि जब दिने कोही त चाहियो नि, इन्जिनियरलाई पनि जब दिने त कोही चाहियो नि, पाइलटलाई पनि जब दिने त कोही मान्छे हुनु पऱ्यो। सो त्यो बन्नु भनेर हामीलाई नसिकाएको हुनाले पनि आई थिङ्क द्याट्स वाइ मलाई के लाग्छ भने हामी यङ मान्छेहरूमा चाहिँ धेरैमा चाहिँ त्यो जब माइन्डसेट छ। तर हामीले देख्यौँ अहिले संसार यति छिटो परिवर्तन भइरहेको छ कि अहिले चाहिँ not just the employees, even the employers don't have job security. Because you don't know you will exist in a few years down the line or not. Even the Uber, no one knows whether it will last 10 years down the line or not. So, अहिलेको word चाहिँ म के भन्छु भने it's entrepreneurial world. So what you have to do is be ready to relearn, apply, and if needed unlearn, फेरि relearn and apply. सो त्यो चेन्जिङ वर्ल्ड भएको हुनाले चाहिँ हाम्रो युथहरूमा चाहिँ त्यो के देखिन्छ भने त्यो एन्टरप्रेन्योरसिप अझै एट्याक गर्न सकेका छैनौँ। यसको पछाडिका केही कारणहरूमध्येमा एउटा चाहिँ के भने त्यो सानैदेखि सिकाइएन हामीलाई, अर्को चाहिँ के भने कतैबाट पनि सपोर्ट हुँदैन। सो जेनरली सरकारी जागिर गर भन्छन्, अरू हाई पेइङ एनजिओमा काम गर भन्छन्, तर कुनै पनि यङ मान्छेले दे से आस्क देयर पेरेन्ट्स गिभ मी सम मनी, आई वान्ट टु स्टार्ट अ बिजनेस, they will lose their sleep. They will be so worried कि ल अहिले अब पैसा डुबायो। अझ विशेष गरी अझ फिमेलहरूको केसमा झनै ठुलो केस, अब यसले डुबाइ, अब बर्बाद हुने। सो त्यो एटिट्युडले गर्दा पनि वी आर नट बिङ एबल टु डेभलप एन्टरप्रेन्योरसिप इन नेपाल। सो मलाई के लाग्छ भने यसको एज अ यो सल्युसन चाहिँ अफकोर्स लाइफ इज डिफिकल्ट हियर, र जो यहाँ एन्टरप्रेन्योरसिप सुरु गर्छ दे फेस एक्स्ट्रा च्यालेन्ज। त्यो चाहिँ बाहिर गएर विदेश नगएर अझ नेपालमा सुरु गर्छु भने चाहिँ इट्स एक्स्ट्रा च्यालेन्ज कि यु हेभ टु प्रुभ योरसेल्फ, यु हेभ टु सक्सिड एनीहाउ, अदरवाइज यु आर गोइङ टु प्रुभ अल अफ योर क्रिटिक्स राइट भनेकै हो नि। अस्ति नै जाओ किन नहरूको ठिक भयो। सो वी हेभ दिस एक्स्ट्रा प्रेसर अमङ द नेप्लिज एन्टरप्रेन्योर्स। सो आई थिङ्क एज अ सल्युसन चाहिँ वाट वी क्यान डु इज स्कुल लेभलदेखि नै वी सुड बी टट एन्टरप्रेन्योरसिप एज अ अप्सन। इट्स ट्रु द्याट नट एभ्रिवान इज एन एन्टरप्रेन्योर, बट at the same time, it's also true that not everyone is meant to be employed in that. So त्यसले गर्दा त्यो स्कुलदेखि नै सिकाउनु पर्छ होला। सो अर्को चाहिँ स्पेसली माइग्रेन्ट वर्कर्सको केसमा चाहिँ अर्को लाइनको बारेमा कुरा गर्नु पर्दा चाहिँ त्यसमा मैले के प्रब्लम देख्छु भने जेनरली मेरो एकजना साथीको भाइ छ, ऊ चाहिँ 2 वर्ष बसेर आयो होइन कतारमा। सो उसले आउँदाखेरि के लिएर आएको थियो भने सो ही मेड सम मनी, डिसेन्ट मनी, ही ब्रट दिस बिग टिभी, lots of perfumes, body sprays, there was a Bluetooth speaker, and he had all these gadgets. He came back, spent 3 months, luxurious lifestyle, paisa sakyo, carry back. So that's the general trend. So what we are not being able to do is to migration but आउने रेन्टेन्सलाई कसरी चाहिँ sustainable बनाउने भन्ने कुरा। So I think यो केसमा चाहिँ even migrant workers also would have benefited if we had स्कुल लेभलदेखि नै त्यो एन्टरप्रेन्योरसिपको एङ्गल भइरहेको भए चाहिँ। सो कतिपय एन्टरप्रेन्योर्सहरू हामी माइग्रेन्ट वर्कर्समा देख्छौँ, स्पेसली अरू देशहरूमा भएको, उहाँहरूले चाहिँ फर्केर एन्टरप्रेन्योरसिप सुरु गरे। सो त्यो चाहिँ बेसिक लेभलदेखि नै सिकाइदिएको भए हुन्थ्यो। र अर्को फाइनल पोइन्ट चाहिँ म के देख्छु भने फाइनेन्सियल लिटरेसी, पैसा बचाउनु पर्छ र पैसाले पैसा क्रिएट गर्छ भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ हामीलाई नसिकाइएको हुनाले इभन दोज अफ अस हु earn very much money, we are slave to our jobs. And I think that's affecting the young people around the world. Thank you. That's the story of my
Thank you, Mr. Giri, for highlighting more issues regarding migration and entrepreneurship. These days, we have been observing the notion of work that has been changing, the culture of part-time job, flexible job, that has been rising a lot. Especially people want to jump into the next job very quickly. They have a short period of time for the particular job. To talk more about the gig economy, let's welcome Nishu Barwal, who is business associate at Birua Advisors. The company is playing an instrumental role for promoting culture of enterprise development among the youth in diverse sectors. So, to you, Nishu.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great honor to be here and be participating in this discussion in front of you all. So today what I'm going to talk about is the gig economy. It sounds like a buzzword that's been spreading around in both developing and developed nations. But what does it actually mean? Gig economy is basically an environment that provides short-term engagements, short-term jobs to anyone who's willing to work according to their own time or own place. So it basically provides this option of flexibility. So is this flexibility something for us Nepalese youth? Is our environment supporting this kind of jobs? Cloud Factory is one of the examples that most of you guys have probably heard of, which is a digital marketplace, and anyone with basic IT skills or internet connection can work on it. Personally speaking, when I was out of college, I would not want to work for a short gig. I did not want something that was unstable and that I wasn't sure if I would have the same job tomorrow or not. I wanted something stable that would pay my bills, where I could go 9 to 5, and because that was the notion that was put in my head from the very beginning. Like this pursuance for security from very early age. But the generation is evolving, and the generation now wants different things than what we did before. So the thing is, why are the youth today are not sure what kind of environment they want to work for? Is it a structured kind of business they want to go in, or is it a flexible environment they want to work for? This is, I think, due to the lack of exposure from an early age. There's a social stigma attached to working part-time jobs. A lot of times our parents put pressure saying, you can't manage both part-time work and studies, just focus on your studies now. Job is something that you pursue only after graduation. So this impacts us because we don't learn the necessary skills before entering the job market. We don't have the soft skills. We don't know how to talk to people. We don't know how to manage our time properly. So this is the gap I think we need to bridge. And it's not only the societal stigma, but it's also, even if we do have internships, it's usually a part of MBA or BSW. It's usually just a requirement that we go in and we just try to check it off the box and say, oh, we've done this internship. But when that person actually goes into a job interview and when you ask them, what did you get out of it? And they say, I just did photocopying and I didn't learn much from it. But that's not a good answer. When you go to a marketplace for a job interview, you can't just say you didn't get much out of the internship. So this gap in the education system, which fails us to prepare us for the marketplace, is what we need to focus on. Trying to make the youth prepared to work in a very competent and evolving marketplace tomorrow. So how can this issue be addressed? Who is responsible? What are the factors that play in? Primarily, it's the job of the youth to know what's out there, what skill set the market demands. What are the actual factors that come into the marketplace and what skills do they need to bring in themselves? And it's not only, a lot of us talked about like IT fields and how it's growing, but it's not only IT fields that's been growing. There are other fields that we need to look at. For example, even students in rural areas where tourism is booming every day and number of Chinese tourists coming in are increasing, just knowing Chinese as a third language for us Nepalese, because most of us already know Nepalese and English. So just knowing this third language is a beneficial factor and can open a number of job opportunities for them. So these are the different kind of skill set that we need to look out for. The youth needs to keep an open mind. And additionally, it's also the responsibility of employers to hire interns or part-time workers, not only with an objective of finding cheap labor, but also with an objective of grooming them, of providing them with the right skill set, and making them prepared to enter the job market 1 year or 2 years down the line. And the society as a whole needs to change. There needs to be a paradigm shift that job is not only something that you do after graduation, and it should not be something permanent. Youth today needs to explore. They need to try out different things before they actually decide what they like, what their interest, where their interest lies, and where their particular niche is. So this exploration is only possible if the society allows youth to try out different things instead of pressurizing them to find a 9-to-5 sarkari jagir right out of college. So, especially in conclusion, what I want to say that is Nepal being such a small and developing country, we have the flexibility. Our social benefits, health insurance is not exactly tied to fixed-term contract jobs. We have the flexibility to try out different things. And especially since it's a scary thought, because our country's the economy is reliant on remittance money. So a financial crisis abroad can affect our economy and GDP here. So what if another financial crisis hits and the youth needs to return? So there's going to be a lack of job opportunity what is already here. But yeah, since my time is up, so I can't go on elaborating. But anyways, my conclusion being is the youth, employers, the society, and even individual units like family members should come together to prepare the youth for the ever-changing economy that we have been facing these days. Thank you.
Thank you, Nishu, for the presentation and highlighting on the prospect of Nepal. Now we move on to second question and answers session. I again request His Excellency Director General of ILO and Matthew Konyak on the stage. The session will be moderated by Matthew again. The floor over to you.
Thank you and welcome again. And can we just clap our hands again for two great speakers? Really, Surat and Nishu, I can say you've hit the how do you say that?
The nail on the head.
The nail on the head, that's right. You've hit the nail on the head. You've talked really about that tough choice that some would say too many young people have to make. Do I start a business? Do I move abroad? If I stay here, do I go for a short-term gig? Or do I try to look for this long-term job that seems almost out of reach? A lot of food for thought, a lot of discussion that's going to come up, so let's go straight into it. But first, again, if I would like to ask Mr. Ryder if you have any immediate feedback from this great discussion.
Yeah, again, two brilliant presentations, congratulations. Starting with the gig economy, the second presentation perhaps. You know, what I always what comes to my mind when I hear, you know, the discussion about the nature of the gig economy is this a glass which is half full or half empty? Because there's a positive side to all of this, and Nishu, you've really brought out the positive side. The gig economy seems to offer freedom, opportunity, flexibility. You know, what is there not to like about it? It sounds fantastic. But some will point to the glass half empty side, which is, you know, maybe you can pick up a gig this week, but next week there's nothing going, and the following week maybe not so much. And what about my pension? What about my? That's not what young people normally think about. You know, there is a downside to all of this. So some people say, you know, we do need to look at this more closely. The other question is, will the gig economy be a general phenomenon or just a niche phenomenon? I mean, is everybody going to be working this in the future, or is this just one option? And that's one of the things that comes out of both presentations, this notion of choice and options. When you come to Nepal, I don't know how you feel about it, turning to migration. You know, it's extraordinary how many people leave Nepal to work in countries like Qatar, sometimes in conditions which are far from being what they should be. And, you know, what pushes people to go? And I guess that what pushes people to go mostly is the lack of an opportunity for a job at home. And when migration is an obligation precisely because of a lack of choice, then you have a problem. And I agree as well also. A country which depends to the extent that Nepal does on remittances to keep the economy going is in a very, very vulnerable situation. It's not a sustainable economic model. The other point which I thought was really interesting is, okay, people go and migrate, they come back. There's a lot of work being done on the value of returning migrants. Few countries use their potential well because, yeah, they can bring back lots of things. They can bring back, a large screen television, but they can bring back a bit of capital. They can bring back language skills. They can bring back know-how, exposure to business, to other cultures. And a lot of studies show that where countries are really good at exploiting the returning migrants, they get a lot of benefit from it. But few do it. And that brings me to the other point, and I'm going to start. Two other points that came out so clearly from both presentations. The need for information. I mean, if you're going out there onto the world of work, you need somebody to give you some information. You need somebody to give you advice. You need somebody to direct you. And your parents are not always the best people to do it because they have some fairly fixed ideas about where you should go, and they're not always right. So, you've got to get that guidance, that counselling, which accounts for so much. And the other bit, and I'll finish with this, is simply skills. Skills development is extraordinarily important. I have the feeling I'm in a room full of highly educated, highly skilled young people. Not everybody, regrettably, has access to those skills, those capacities. I'll leave it at that. There's so many other things that could be talked about, but I'll stop.
Sure, thank you very much, Mr. Ryder. And so let's try to talk about all these other things. I'm sure that we have a lot of questions that will be coming here from any of you from the room. Yes, I see your hand right there, please.
Hello everyone, I'm Suman Rai from Behind Social Venture, and Behind Social Venture is an organization working closely with senior citizens in our society. And so the question from me is that how can we mobilize the interns in graduate students who are doing internship or volunteering in their educational level, so that they can be, so that their labor force can be mobilized in coming future. And also another question that I would like to place is how can we mobilize senior citizens in the labor market for the inclusiveness of the society and for the overall development of the country, because the most important thing is time. That how can we utilize the time of the youth as well as the elders for the betterment of the society.
Thank you so much. So if I understand, the question really relates to this intergenerational dialogue and to the need to involve young people through internship or apprenticeship programs, at the same time not forgetting that there are also opportunities that need to be filled up by the more senior generation. Who would like to start? Perhaps Nishu?
Yeah, sure. So I think it's a situation that can be actually utilized if senior citizens are taken as interns. It's actually a benefit because they've actually been there and done that before. So they've already, I'm assuming, they've already held a position before, so they know how the job market works. So they've been doing a job before they retired. So actually having them as part-time interns and maybe forming a discussion groups or trying to have them as mentors to the newcoming interns can be one way to approach the situation. And similarly, utilizing youth, when it comes to utilizing youth, the point I was trying to get across was not letting youth only do tasks that does not add much value to their skill set. So engaging them as workers who are going to be a part of the labor force tomorrow. So making them do actual work and kind of like a preliminary introduction sort of thing. So giving them actual taste of what it's like to work in a real job market. It might not be feasible to do it when they're working part-time, but still it can be done on a basic level.
So introducing young people to the world of work at an early age through those type of programs, activities like internships and other work exposure measures.
Yes, exactly. It's like most of the time the focus on internships is only when you're on your third year bachelor's degree or when you're right about to graduate. So that's only when you think of internship because you actually want a job by that time. But the idea is you have to foster the environment in such a way that they start thinking about it like from early age, like from high school. The gap period, like between SLC and +2, there's like this 3-month gap where a lot of students end up doing bridge course or some other sort of preparatory classes for the next level. But why doesn't anyone think about maybe doing an internship or maybe trying out a small part-time job that might actually teach them something? So yeah.
And in an event like this, where we talk about this necessity for young people to be introduced to internship or apprenticeship programs, we should not forget that not everybody has the same type of options or choices that they can make. And Surat made a very, very good speech where he spoke also about this issue of migration. For the next segment, I'd like to hear from somebody who maybe may not have had the same opportunities that many of us in this room have had. And it's a story of a young migrant who I think has a specific question or something to say about the migration challenge. Let's listen.
रोजगार जाने युवाहरूको ताती पनि त्यतिकै छ स्वदेशमा रोजगार नपाएर विदेश गइरहेको छ तर पर्याप्त जानकारी नपाएर युवाहरू सधैँ ठगिँदैछ अब के हुन्छ होला यो देशमा युवाहरूको हाम्रो जस्तो युवाहरूको हालत कस्तो हुन्छ होला
So if I understand, it's about a challenge of migration, and I'm not sure I got it entirely right, but if I also understand, it's maybe also pointing to what happens to those young people coming back from Qatar once they have spent the money on their television. What do they do if not much skills training is offered to them?
So the guys' main concern is that we don't have much employment opportunities here, and what will happen if all those people come back? And I think we should already be prepared for that. So as I was telling earlier, that financial literacy and entrepreneurship are two key components that will help us make it a sustainable thing. Financial literacy, by that I mean if the migrant workers have the knowledge that they should save and invest and think for their future, that would be helpful. And some of them are likely to be risk takers for sure, and given the exposure they have in the outer world, they will be able to help transform economy in Nepal, be it agriculture, be it tourism. We have some of those examples, and I think we should be prepared in that way as well. And from the government's level, there have been some initiatives, but I think those initiatives needs to be expanded. One of the initiatives is this issuing bond to the migrant workers. So the government charges a certain fee from the remittance and issues bonds to the migrant workers. And that amount is invested in different infrastructure projects like hydropower, and from the return, those migrant workers will get interest. That sounds very good idea to me, but it hasn't been implemented, and I hope the government will implement it soon.
Thank you, Surat. Thank you also for raising this suggestion, this recommendation, which I'm sure is being heard. I think we have time for one last question from the audience. So I think the first hand was there, so if we can pass the microphone.
Hello.
Please.
Hello. नमस्ते म बलदेव तामाङ सर्वप्रथम त ILO डाइरेक्टर जेनरल म नेपालमा सम्पूर्ण तर्फबाट हार्दिक स्वागत गर्न चाहन्छु र 50 वर्ष पुगेको ILO सम्पूर्णलाई म हार्दिक बधाई दिन चाहन्छु र भावी दिनमा शुभकामना व्यक्त गर्न चाहन्छु र दुईटा मलाई जिज्ञासा यहाँ राख्न मन लागेको छ माइग्रेसनले गर्दा नेपालमा दुईटा अत्यन्तै विकराल रूपमा चाहिँ सामाजिक विकृतिहरू निम्ताएको देखिन्छ घरमा फर्किँदाखेरि श्रीमती पनि हुँदैन पैसा पनि हुँदैन अथवा श्रीमान हुँदैन पैसा पनि हुँदैन त्यो खालको विकृति चाहिँ कसरी चाहिँ निराकरण गर्न सकिन्छ होला तर कुरा म राइडरज्यूलाई मेरो जहिले पनि मैले अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय फोरममा अथवा यो छलफलमा सोध्ने प्रश्न चाहिँ म राख्न चाहन्छु। आइएलओले पनि राम्रोसँग माइग्रेसनको बारेमा त्यसको अधिकारहरूको बारेमा अत्यन्तै राम्रोसँग पुस्तकहरूमा लेखिएको पाइन्छ। त्यससँगसँगै सम्बद्ध युएन त्यस्तै गरी हाम्रो साथ लेभलमा पनि माइग्रेसनको बारेमा अत्यन्तै राम्रोसँग उसको अधिकारको कुराहरू उसको समस्याको कुराहरू लेखिएको पाइन्छ। तर व्यवहारमा जुन खाडी मुलुकहरूमा नेपाल लगायत अन्य डेभलपिङ कन्ट्रीहरू चाहिँ जो वर्करहरू जानुहुन्छ माइग्रेन्ट वर्करको रूपमा त्यहाँ चाहिँ अहिले पनि दास युग चाहिँ छ। सबै डकुमेन्टहरू उनीहरूले चाहिँ जफात गरिन्छ। त्यहाँ चाहिँ जिएभित्र जस्तो हुन्छ। उसको अधिकारको बारेमा कसले बोल्दिनु होला? आएर जस्तो संस्थाहरूको जिम्मेवारी के हुन्छ होला? अथवा पेपरमा मात्रै लेख्दा त्यहाँ मुख्य बाहिर उसले दास जीवन बिताइरहेको छ। वर्किङ कन्डिसन अत्यन्तै खराब छ। प्रोफेसनल हेर्दाखेरि सेफ्टीको त कुरै छैन। दिनको 3-4वटा लासहरू नेपाल भेटिन्छ। त्यसकारण आइएलओ जस्तो संस्थाहरूको जिम्मेवारी के होला? कसरी निराकरण गर्न सकिन्छ? त्यहाँ राइट्सको कुरा पनि उसले गर्न पाउँदैन। खाडी मुलुकहरूको उसको अधिकार त्यहाँ उनीहरूको कानुनले गर्दाखेरि बन्दित छ। त्यहाँ अर्गनाइज गर्न पनि पाउँदैन उनीहरू। आइएलओ जस्तो संस्थाहरूले अथवा आइएलओ जस्तो संस्थाहरूको जिम्मेवारी के होला? यसबाट कसरी मुक्ति दिलाउन सकिन्छ होला?
So I guess I will pass the mic to the general on this question of rights.
Yeah, I mean, you've asked one of the key questions in the world of work today. We know very well that whilst migration is unfortunately probably the only option for millions of workers around the world, and not only in Nepal, we know that much migration takes place in circumstances through mechanisms which leave workers open to exploitation, leave them open to abuse. That is a reality. Now, the good news in that bad news is that a lot is going on now to try to rectify that situation. The international community, the United Nations, has set itself the task of adopting a new global compact on migration by 2018. That might seem a long way away, but it's already a recognition that there are a number of things in current migration processes which are simply unacceptable and which are in violation of the human rights of migrant workers. Let me just point to some of the problems. One of the problems is the fact that the intermediaries, the labour brokers who are often present in the migration process, very frequently, although it's illegal, I know it's illegal in the case of Nepalese workers, charge very high fees to the worker. Now, Nepal has a free ticket, free visa policy, but we know that often workers arriving in the country of destination are already heavily in debt. They owe money to the employer, and they have to keep on working to pay off a debt, which often gets bigger and bigger. And that, in the end, amounts to circumstances of forced labour. We know as well that in destination countries, the institutions, the practices are not respectful of human rights. You've mentioned the situation in the Gulf countries. It was good news 2 days ago when Qatar announced the end of the so-called kafala sponsorship system, which, if it's implemented properly, will bring improvement because it will stop the worker being, if you like, the property of the employer and actually make the employment relationship based on a normal labour contract. These are important things. But I am the first to recognise that we have a very long road to travel. And by the way, one of the major conversations I've been having here in Kathmandu has been about how we improve migration processes. And in the last week, I've also spoken with the Minister of Labour of Qatar and the Minister of Labour of the United Arab Emirates on the same subject. Now, I could go on for a very long time, but we don't have that time. You've asked what the responsibility of the ILO is. The responsibility of the ILO is to work and to work with others to ensure that migration is safe, that it is human rights centred, and that it is orderly. That is to say, it takes place according to established rules, laws and procedures. Now, you know better than me that today we're a long way away from that, but that is the ambition, the goal that we must set ourselves, and it's not an impossibility, it's absolutely a possibility. And let me just finish with one word, because it's the one thing that I get from this whole dialogue that we've had today. Entrepreneurship is going to be a fantastic part of the future, and so many of you pointing to the enthusiasm and the way forward. The one thing that worries me in this conversation, or that comes to me, not worries me, comes to me, is the question of scale. You know, if you think of the deficit of job opportunities in Nepal today, you're counting in the millions, right? Are we going to create millions of individual entrepreneurs, or do we have to place this entrepreneurial dynamo in the context of a wider approach to employment? Because I don't think that everybody who needs a job is going to become an entrepreneur. So I think we need also to create a general investment climate in Nepal, where foreign companies, foreign investment is going to come in, where we're going to unlock the savings of remittances. Nepal has a very high savings rate, but a very low investment rate. So we have to recycle those remittances into productive processes. So you've got to look at that investment environment. I think that means getting political stability and the constitutional questions sorted out. I think it means getting the right laws, the right institutions, an administration which works honestly and effectively, infrastructure and much else. And then I think you can scale up the effects of the entrepreneurial catalyst and make it expand to get to the scale that I think Nepal needs to get to when it comes to creating jobs for all its young people.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ryder, and this concludes the end of this panel discussion. So thank you again to our great speakers, Nishu and Sarat, and if you're from Academia, thank you again.